guess I didn't say. What are you looking so sad about, champ?
I'm surprised at you. I mean, I'm really insulted. I mean, that's not right what you just said.
What do you mean? What I just said?
I mean, I'm gonna get a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talk about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, one time during my career, I went on a Formula One tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
Well, you've been on the tour.
What's happening, my people? It's Cash Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. Now, as usual, before we get started, let me give a shout out to the JBT community. It's just boxing talk. We're a group of people who just love to talk boxing. And we're always looking for others to join us. And you don't have to have a podcast. The only requirement is you just have to love to talk boxing. That's all. Miss Cass, Tim Layton, Mike Mazik. Salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of Cash Sports, The Box Historian. Today, remembering Livingstone Bramble. And you know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's The Box Historian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. How's everyone today? This is the Wednesday afternoon hump day edition of Cash Sports, the Box Historian. We're going to pay our respects to Livingstone Bramble today. Remembering Livingstone Bramble, who also passed away this past weekend. Solid boxer back from the 80s, 90s, went all the way up into the 2000s. I remember yesterday I said he went into the 90s. I didn't think he It fought that long, but yeah, it fought up until like 2003. I was looking at it earlier. Yeah, he fought a lot of the big names up the period. Fought Boom Boom Man Senior. I think they fought twice. I think they split 2 fights. He fought Obakar from the Kronk Gym. You know, Obakar was actually Emmanuel Stewart's first world champion, not Tommy Hearns. Tommy Hearns was the second. Livingstone Bramble fought Obakar. Was in there with Roger Mayweather, Edwin Rosario, one of the Reales brothers. I think it was Gabriel and Manuel Reales. He was in there with one of them. I don't know which one. They were both brothers were top 10 fighters from like 122, 126, 130. Around the 90s, 80s, 90s. Fought one of them. He was in there with all the big names. And we're going to remembering Livingstone Bramble today. Okay? But first, for the highlights of boxing history, we're going to do the best fighter from every weight division today. The best fighter in every weight division. Okay? And that's what we're doing today on Cat Sports, the Box Historian, on this Wednesday afternoon edition. Hump Day edition. On the way downhill to the weekend. I think we got some pretty good fights this weekend, too. I think we got a nice top rank card. So, you know, top rank, you see a lot of the good youngsters of the sport. Because the Bob Father signs them, but he don't do nothing with them after he signs them. He knows how to get them, right? Let's review that card real quick. It's a pretty good card. I think Emiliano Vargas and a lot of them good. Tiger Johnson, I think. Let me get it up real quick. Then we're gonna do the highlights of boxing history. The best boxer in every weight division. From heavyweight started heavyweight and come all the way down. Okay. See what's happening this Saturday. Might be Friday. You know, the Godfather been putting them on Fridays. Toward the end of I think Keyshawn was a Friday fight, but here we go. 29th, that's Saturday. From Las Vegas, we got Michaela Mayer versus Sandy Ryan. I think this will be their third fight. Going for the Mayer's WBO title. I think Mayer was the one that took it from Ryan. Then we got Brian Norman Jr. on the card for Norman's WBO welterweight title. Derek Cuevas. I don't know if Derek's going to take it, but I don't have Norman having that title long. Bruce Carrington on the card. Shoo back in action. Yeah, Emiliano Vargas on the card. Troy Isley, Tiger Johnson. Told you a lot of those good young top-ranked fighters. A great card. That's this Saturday. Then we got one from Cancun, Mexico. That's the big one, too. William Zepeda versus Tevin Farmer, too. Now, Tevin's going to need the knockout because down there in Mexico, I don't know if he's going to get a decision. We got Oscar Collazo back in action. Yocasta Valle, Marlon Esparza. Nice women's fight on that card. Another good card. 2 good cards Saturday. Wow. One from Top Rank, that's ESPN, and the other is The Zone. Zepeda and Farmer is The Zone. Down in Mexico. And they're saying the winner, interim WBC interim, the winner will get Shakur Stevenson. That's what I'm hearing. So that'll be nice. So we'll see what happens. But it's this weekend, just a couple of days away. Okay, let's get into our highlights of boxing history. The best fighter from every weight class. Okay. Let me get up here where I belong at. Okay. Yeah, I got some interesting articles on Bud Crawford and Canelo. If I think we're gonna have time because Livingstone Bramble was not gonna be all that long. So yeah. So we're gonna start at heavyweight and work our way down. Best fighter from every weight division. I might as well put the heavyweight up there. You already know who it is, right? Now look up any list of greatest fighters that ever lived. No doubt, you will find a mixture of different fighters from different. Okay, now the thing won't move. There we go. You will find a mixture of different fighters from different weight classes, right? Now, on many occasions, numbers 2 to 10 on those lists may vary dramatically, but the number one spot is rightly secured on most of them by none other than welterweight Sugar Ray Robinson, right? And you can't say how a fighter from one weight class would have done at another division, you know, had he been bigger or lighter. Those imaginations and comparisons are what lead us to the popular concept of the pound for pound rankings, which we talked about yesterday. And usually pound for pound rankings all the time, Sugar Ray Robinson ranks number one. But today's list, we've gone away from the concept of pound for pound rankings, and we're going to look at the best fighter from each division, okay? So no pound for pound, just the straight up best fighter from each division. Heavyweight, Muhammad Ali. Now in his era, Ali defeated almost every known and respected heavyweight of that time. Ali fought during the time when being heavyweight champ really did mean something, okay? Opposition was strong and you always fought the best. Ali was dominant during the best time for heavyweight boxing. So it's only natural for him to go down as the greatest of all time, right? At heavyweight. Now, aside from being Fighter of the Year multiple times, he had the record 6 times Fighter of the Year, Muhammad Ali. He was also in some of the most entertaining and competitive fights in boxing history. Muhammad Ali, best heavyweight of all time. Cruiserweight, Evander Holyfield. Best cruiserweight of all time, Evander. Thomas Hill is in the building. Yeah, T. Hill. For the highlights of boxing history, we're looking at the best fighter from each weight division. Muhammad Ali was the representative for heavyweight. Cruiserweight, Evander Holyfield. Thought about Usyk, but nah. Evander Holyfield. But salute Thomas Hill. Yeah. Okay, the best at cruiserweight all times, Evander. The real deal, Holyfield. Now, he may be mostly remembered for his heavyweight fights against Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis. But Holyfield's best years, without a doubt, was at cruiserweight, right? During his time at the cruiserweight division, he was pretty much the owner of it. Holyfield was dominant in every way at cruiserweight and went undefeated in his time at cruiserweight, never beaten, right? From the get-go of his career, he claimed victories over strong opposition such as Tyrone Booz, Dwight Muhammad Qualley, Henry Tillman, Rick Parkey, and R.C. Ocasio. Now, once he left the cruiserweight division, he left a legacy of basically being unbeatable at it because he was never beaten at cruiserweight. Neither was Usyk, but you know, Holyfield fought Holyfield edged Usyk out because Holyfield fought the better opposition at cruiserweight, hands down. Light heavyweight, and what's strange about this one, Ezzard Charles, he's probably the best light heavyweight ever, but he never was the light heavyweight champion. What's up, Mike Rim? Mike Rim in the building. Just looking at the best fighter from every division to start out, Mike. And I was saying, what's so weird about Ezzard Charles? He's arguably the best light heavyweight of all time, but he was never light heavyweight champion, right? He was heavyweight champion, but he also was a great light heavyweight. Let's talk about Ezzard. Ezzard, it happens every day. Okay. Came right back. Went right back out again. Okay. But we're on Ezzard Charles. Light heavyweight. We coming on down the list. Light heavyweight. Ezzard Charles, best of all time at that weight, but never was champion. Donnie Williams. What's up, Donnie? Salute. Talking about the best fighter of all time at every weight. Then we're gonna give a little tribute to remember Livingstone Bramble. Passed away Saturday, 64 years old, right? 1 year younger than me. That's why I was out there walking this morning. I'll go back and walk again this evening. Used to run a mile every day when I was younger. But yeah, they'll find me out there laying on the track. I try that now. That's why I walk. Over a mile, though, I think. But anyway, as a Charles. Charles was what could easily be considered a masterful boxer. He was fast, he moved great, and he had great footwork. Now, Charles was also responsible for beautiful combinations, which were actually usually very accurate. Now, in his prime, he was impressive in every way possible, not only looking good, but doing it against top opposition, such as Archie Moore, Jimmy Bivens, and Lloyd Marshall, to name a few. Now, he beat Archie Moore. Archie Moore was heavyweight champion, but Archie Moore was not heavyweight champion when Essex fought him. Because remember, Archie took 16 years to get a title shot. Remember? Turned pro at 23 and didn't get his title shot till he was 39. But when he got it, he kept it for 10 years. Now, Essex Charles would also perform well at the heavyweight division, winning the heavyweight title in 1948 and defended it a total of 9 times. Yep, beat Joe Louis. It was old Joe Louis, though. It wasn't the Joe Louis. Super middleweight, best ever at super middleweight, Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. Okay. Now, Roy, during his prime, no one was impressive or made it look as easy as Roy Jones Jr. did. Roy was so dominant that he held a record-breaking 6 belts at the same time. He had the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, the IBO, the NABF, the WBF, and the IBA at the same time, right? Now, in 2003, Jones looked even more impressive when he made boxing history by beating John Ruiz for the WBA heavyweight title, becoming the first middleweight to go from middleweight to heavyweight champion in 100 years, right? Another old school guy did it like 1897. Bob Fitzsimmons. Yeah, Bob Fitzsimmons. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Add to that, being named Fighter of the Decade for the 1990s after achieving wins over legends such as James Lights Out Tony and Bernard the Executioner / Alien / B-Hop Hopkins. Roy Jones Jr. Now, super middleweight representative. Middleweight, Harry Graham, the great Harry Graham, okay? The Pittsburgh Windmill. Yeah, Mike said it probably was a hell of a time line to get a belt because it was only one, that's right. It really meant something then. It was only one. It really meant something to be champion then. Yeah, we didn't have 20 in each division like now, you know. Yeah, but Harry Graham is the best of all time at middleweight. Mm-hmm. There's Harry. Now, Harry, part of what made Graham great was his toughness and aggressiveness. He fought an incredible 303 times, okay? And against everyone considered good at the time. I guess so, 303 times. He fought every middleweight that was out there at that time. And he fought from middleweight all the way up to heavyweight, actually. Yeah. And only lost once. Now, one thing was for sure. Graham loved to fight, so much so that in 1917, he fought a total of 37 times. And in 1919, he fought a total of 45 times, okay? And won all of them. Graham, that's an entire career nowadays, 45 times in 1 year. Graham was well known for not caring about opponents' weight. As middleweight, he fought and beat light heavyweight champion, battling Levinsky. Right? He also defeated light heavyweight champions Jack Dillon and Willie Meehan. This thing keeps jumping on me. But Jack Dillon and Willie Meehan, yeah. I think he fought a couple heavyweights too. The Pittsburgh Windmill, the great Harry Graham. best ever at middleweight. Junior middleweight got to be the Hitman, the Motor City Cobra, Thomas the Hitman Hearns. Best junior middleweight ever. It was almost unfair, fighting at 154. He was almost bad as Pandora. He was only 6'2", but an 80-something inch reach, man. And also at 147, 6'2", an 80-something inch reach. I watched him and Roberto Duran the other night. It was just unfair, man. It hurt me to my heart, man. Duran couldn't do nothing. I had to whisper Hands of Stone. I couldn't do unusual Hands of Stone. I had to whisper it. But Duran did try. He tried to get inside where he needed to be at, but Hearns kept that jab in his face, and then when he got past that jab, you know what was waiting for him? That vicious right hand. It only lasted 2 rounds. But anyway, the Hitman won an impressive 8 titles in 6 weight classes. Along the way, he beat such names as Virgil Hill, Wilfred Benitez, and Roberto Duran. Now, part of Hearns' greatness was his willingness to fight the absolute best and to prove that he was the best. He fought a total of 21 world champions, okay? He was famous and usually avoided for his great knockout punches, one of which can be seen in his fight against Roberto Duran. Okay. He would also go on to win Fighter of the Year in both 1980 and 1984. The Hitman, Thomas Hearns. Yeah, I don't know what hurt the most when Roberto quit against Sugar Ray or Hearns beat him down. I don't know which one was worse. Yeah, but Roberto did come back and redeem himself. He became champion again and everything. So, it's always how you finish. Welterweight, you know who welterweight is. Sugar Ray Robinson, greatest welterweight ever. Probably the greatest fighter ever. Right? Now, this one is the easiest of them all, right? The man ranks as the best pound-for-pound fighter in boxing history. So it's only right that he ranks as the best welterweight of all time. It was at this division that Sugar Ray dominated the sport and made fans, media, and the world fall in love with him. Never lost that welterweight, okay? He was impressively versatile, smooth, and a super gifted boxer. He had a quick jab alongside great knockout power, right? His effectiveness and dominance with both hands was incredibly overwhelming. Overall, Sugar Ray Robinson is the fighter that scientists would create if they could someday, right? They said if scientists could create a boxer, it would be Sugar Ray Robinson, right? Yeah. Junior welterweight, not Roberto, not Wilfredo Gomez, it's JCC, Julio Cesar Chavez. JCC, greatest junior welterweight ever. Now, the Mexican legend was a 6-time world champion in 3 weight divisions. With the concept of pound-for-pound rankings, Chavez dominated the list for many years. In a career that spanned over 25 years, Chavez ended with an impressive record of 107 wins against 6 losses. The most impressive part of his record is the fact that he went undefeated for the first 89 fights of his career. Now, I would say about 87 because I think he was 87 when he fought Meldrick Taylor. And yeah, he should have lost that one, but thanks to Richard Steele. Now, Chavez is without a doubt considered one of the truly great fighters of all time, winning a total of 6 world titles in 3 weight divisions. I went backwards. This thing keeps jumping on me, man. Yeah, but yeah, he beat such great fighters as Meldrick Taylor, Sammy Fuentes, Hector Camacho, Edwin Rosario, Tony Lopez, Frankie Randall, and Roger Mayweather. Just to name a few. Lightweight, y'all know who lightweight is. The Hands of Stone. I got excited and hit the wrong button. Roberto Duran. Okay. Hands of Stone is one of the greatest fighters to ever lace up a pair of gloves. During his great career, he was simply the best lightweight champion the world will ever see. Duran easily ranks as the top 10 best fighters of all time, on almost everyone's list, right? Because he went to those 70s. It was crazy, man. Now, talk about nobody's unbeatable. But you look at Muhammad Ali in the 60s, this is close to unbeatable if you can get, and Roberto Duran in the 70s is as close to unbeatable as anybody would ever get. Them two, right? Roberto Duran in the 70s was just incredible, man. Now the thing won't move again. Okay, right on Roberto Duran. There we go. I heard me slam it down. Okay, yeah, Roberto Duran is the representative for lightweight. You know, definitely one of the greatest of all time. In everybody's top 10, okay? And his best years came at the lightweight division, of which he was king. Lost once in the 70s to Esteban de Jesus, right? And Esteban de Jesus was crafty. He had to have, when you talk about ring IQ, Esteban de Jesus arguably had the best ring IQ of all time. And he did beat Roberto in the 70s, but Roberto advanced it 2 times. But Esteban was the definition. You put crafty in the dictionary, you put Esteban de Jesus picture beside it. And he only one to beat Roberto Duran at lightweight in the 70s. Was the great Esteban de Jesus. Yeah. But Roberto beat him twice. So junior lightweight, the explosive thin man, Alexis Arguello. The explosive thin man. Now, the explosive thin man was a beauty to watch. At 5'10", he had great height for his division, possessed great boxing abilities, and although he was as thin as he packed one hell of a punch. Now, his punches were always efficient. His boxing IQ was extremely good, and he had a great arsenal of combinations. And if you made a mistake against him, he would make you pay. During his reign at the junior lightweight division, there was simply no one more dominant. In 2008, after retiring and having a successful political career, Arguello unfortunately committed suicide. Yeah. Featherweight. This was a tough one. Willie Pep or Salvador Sanchez, but Willie Pep. Yeah. Got to go with the Pepster. The Will of the West, Willie Pep. That's him on the left there. Greatest featherweight ever, Willie Pep. Now, Willie Pep is the most creative fighter that ever lived. In his prime, right, he possessed both an offensive and defensive ability combination that was a beauty to watch. His intelligence inside the ring can also rank as one of the best, if not best of all time. Now, like I say, Esteban de Jesus gets that ring IQ. Now, throughout his entire career, Pep faced strong and top opposition on a consistent basis, sometimes even fighting twice a week. While doing so, he managed to accumulate a super impressive record of 229 wins and 11 losses, okay? And I told y'all the plane crash story when the doctor told him he was in a plane crash, had very substantial and significant injuries. And the doctor said, Willie, you will never fight again. Willie said, no, the only thing I ain't gonna do again is fight at night. Only thing I'm not gonna do again is fly at night. Not only did he fight again, he fought 10 more times that same year of the plane crash. Okay, 10 more times that year. There was some tough men back then. Junior featherweight, Wilfredo Gomez, the greatest Puerto Rican fighter of all time. There's Wilfredo in the red on the left. I think that's him, and it might be him and Salvador Sanchez. Hardcore boxing news, salute in the building. Hashtag JBT. That's the fearless leader of the JBT organization right there, Jay Hardcore, proprietor of the Hangout, 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. on Sundays. Open it back up 8 p.m. Sunday night. Salute Jay Hardcore. Okay, we talking about before we get started on Livingstone, we was talking about the best fighter from every weight division. We're going to review when we finish, but where are we? Junior featherweight, Wilfredo Gomez. That's him on the left. Wilfredo, yeah. Now, Gomez had a perfect combination of skills and aggressiveness. He possessed great defensive abilities, and he was exceptionally wonderful, okay? He was champion in 3 different weight classes, but his best was by far junior featherweight, okay? 122. And junior featherweight 122, yeah. But they call it super bantamweight too. I was thinking about super bantamweight. But at bantamweight, the best ever is Ida Jaffer. Ida Jaffer. There's Ida. Ida Jaffer. He was South African, right? Now, Jaffer was truly one of the greats. He packed one hell of a punch and landed them pretty often. He was smart, had great skills, and was good defensively too. Jaffer could box fighters or get into a brawl. Either way, he was as bad as anyone, boxing or in the brawl. He also had an iron chin, which made exchanges with him a nightmare. Okay, junior bantamweight, 115 is Kosai Galaxy. I think he's Korean, South Korean, I believe. Yeah, Kosai Galaxy. What is junior bantamweight? 115. Now, Galaxy was a slick southpaw with great punching power and boxing abilities in every part of the game. In his career, he defended his belt an impressive 19 times. That's the record for a junior bantamweight, 19 times. We covered that. Remember when I was going through the division? Yeah, he's got the record 19 times. That's a lot of times. Only 6 behind Joe Louis, the record up through all the boxing, 25, right? Now, he was an impressive fighter who provided great entertainment for boxing fans for many years. Now, he ranks amongst the best to ever do so. With his great boxing abilities and determination, he was only defeated once in his entire career. Okay, junior flyweight. What happened to flyweight? 115. Don't have 112. Now let me pick one. Let's see. 112, man. I would say Mark Too Sharp Johnson. That's a good one. I missed flyweight. Don't have flyweight on here. I'm sorry. No picture, no talk about it. Yeah, Mark Too Sharp Johnson would be the representative for flyweight. I don't know how I missed that, but no flyweight. Mark Too Sharp Johnson. So let's go to junior flyweight. Went right past flyweight. I didn't notice that this morning when I was looking at this. I would have made, would have had a write-up and everything on. My bad. Junior flyweight then. Okay. Who's junior flyweight? That's 108. Just 2 more. Junior flyweight and minimum weight, 108. No grown man should weigh no 108. I think my 8-year-old granddaughter weighed about 108, man. But hey, somebody got to fight at minimum weight. But junior flyweight is Chang Jun Koo. There's Chang Jun Koo right there. The Korean Hawk, that's what they called him. He was a beast inside the ring, right? And he was relentless when it came to brawling. He had a great combination of foot speed along with very accurate punching, which made him the great champion he was. Now, during his career, he defended his title a total of 16 times and is ranked amongst the best fighters of all time on many lists. And y'all know who it is at minimum weight. The great, legendary Ricardo Lopez. That's Ricardo on the right. Never lost in his life. Never lost in the professional ranks. Never lost as an amateur. Okay? The man don't know what it means to lose. Well, he might have lost some sparring or something, I don't know, but never lost. Never lost in his life. Ricardo Lopez, had one draw, 51 wins, no losses, one draw. And you know how Joe Louis was the only man to be champion for an entire decade. Ricardo Lopez missed by like a couple months. He was champion for the entire decade. Then, like October 1998, he decided to October 1999, he moved up to flyweight and won the title there. He vacated, or he would have been, just like Joe Louis, the second man to be a champion for an entire decade, but he chose to move up, right? Now, called him Finito. Finito was never the same level of popularity as countryman Julio Cesar Chavez, but for the simple reason that he fought at the minimum weight division of 105 pounds, right? A lot of people don't follow those guys down there. Now, if this man would have been like 126, 130, you better bet he would be known. He'd be a household name, but he fought at 105. That's why he didn't have the same popularity as JCC and those Oscar, those other guys, right? This is a division that not many are aware of. Regardless, it was impossible to ignore the skills, knockout power, ring intelligence, and undefeated record that Lopez had during a truly great 16-year career, okay? 16-year career, never beaten. Most people will remember Lopez for his dedication to the sport of boxing, his discipline in the ring, the quality and beauty of his skills, the many title defenses he had, and the great combination of punching power and technical excellence he had in the ring. Never lost in his career. Okay, let's talk about Livingstone Bramble now. Remembering Livingstone Bramble. Okay, we ran a little bit past 2:30, but that's okay because Livingstone is going to not be that long of a one. Okay, but first, before we get started, okay, let's give a moment of silence to remember Livingstone Bramble. Okay, let's do that first. Okay, a moment of silence for the great Livingstone Bramble. Okay. Okay, let's start on the profile. Remembering Livingstone Bramble, the pit bull. He was the first pit bull. Okay. Wow. I didn't know I had this many pictures. Livingstone Bramble from the Virgin Islands. And after we finish this, we're going to talk about some other fighters and like a little history of boxing in the Virgin Islands. Okay, since that's where Livingstone was from. I'm having all kinds of problems today. Oh, I really put him in there this morning. Equipment malfunction, but it'll get together. Or go to the backup. Come on, Livingstone. There we go. Here's Livingstone Bramble. Remember, he's come out there with that snake around his neck. Yeah. Al Booger. What's up, Al Booger? Just get ready to start Livingstone Bramble. I was supposed to review the what's in every weight class. Heavyweight was Muhammad Ali. Cruiserweight was Evander Holyfield. Light heavyweight was Ezra Charles. Cruiserweight, super middleweight was Roy Jones. Middleweight was Harry Grab. Junior middleweight was Thomas Hearns. Welterweight was Sugar Ray Robinson. Junior welterweight was JCC, Julio Cesar Chavez. Lightweight was Roberto Duran. Junior lightweight was the explosive thin man, Alexis Aguayo. Featherweight was Willie Pep. Junior featherweight was Wilfredo Gomez. Bantamweight was I forgot. No, Ida Joffre. Junior bantamweight. Flyweight was Mark Too Sharp Johnson. Junior flyweight was Kosai Galaxy. And minimum weight was Ricardo Lopez. Only one I forgot was bantamweight. I'll go back at the end and see who it was. Okay. Livingstone Bramble. Now, Livingstone Bramble was born September 3rd, 1960. Died March 22nd, 2025, this past Saturday. Of course, he was a professional boxer who was once the WBA lightweight champion. Bramble was raised on St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. He became the first world champion from St. Kitts, right, in Nevis. Okay, he wasn't the first world champion from the Virgin Islands. That was way back there, Peter Jackson, former slave, way back in the 1800s, right? Now, he fought at lightweight and junior welterweight, okay? And he was 5'8". He had a 74-inch reach, fought in the orthodox stance. He had a total of 69 fights during his career. He won 40, lost 25, had 3 draws, okay? No, he lost 26, excuse me. 140, lost 26, 3 draws, 69. And 25 wins by knockout, okay, for Livingstone Bramble. Okay, let's look at his professional career. For the pit bull, Livingstone Bramble. Now, he began boxing professionally on October 16th, 1980, knocking out Jesus Serrano in the first round, right? Now, he would outpunch Serrano in a rematch. In his 4th fight, Bramble faced the more experienced French contender, Jorge Nina, winning by disqualification in the 2nd round, okay? Then on June 4th, 1981, Bramble beat Ken Bogner by a knockout in 7 rounds. But later that year, on August 31st, he lost his first fight in an 8-round decision to Anthony Fletcher. Now, after that loss, he went on a streak of 13 wins in a row, including wins over former world title challenger James Buscema and Gaten Hart, as well as top 10 ranked fighters like Jerome Artis and Raphael Williams. Yep, he had some big wins that year. James Artis, Raphael Williams were both top 10 ranked fighters at that time. Now, Bramble was given a shot at a world title when the WBA put him up against Ray Boom Boom Mancini for the lightweight title on June 1st, 1984. Remember that fight? There's him and Boom Boom right here. Yeah, June 1st, 1984 was his first title shot. Now, Bramble entered the ring sporting a record of 20 wins and just that 1 loss, right? With 13 knockouts. But he was a heavy underdog to Mancini, who had recently gone 14 rounds with the legendary Alexis Aguayo in a losing effort. And Boom Boom was coming off a successful title defense on January 14th, a 3rd round knockout of 2-time world champion Bobby Chacon, right? You know, y'all know Bobby Chacon, Skywalker Bossio's uncle, right? His mother's brother, matter of fact. But yeah, Boom Boom was coming off a 3rd round knockout over Bobby Chacon, and he went 14 rounds with the legendary Alexis Aguayo. So he was a heavy favorite over Bramble coming into that fight, right? And talks about a super fight between Boom Boom Mancini and IBF World Junior Welterweight Champion Aaron Pryor were already underway. So they was looking past looking past Bramble, right? But Bramble cut Mancini in round 1 and went on to become the WBA World Lightweight Champion by a 14th round knockout. This fight was in Buffalo, New York. So that's, you don't never look past anyone, especially back in that era, And Boom Boom and Pryor never did fight either. After this fight, After this fight, the Ring magazine published a cover of Bramble, WBA Junior Lightweight World Champion Rocky Lockridge, and their trainer Lou Duva. The cover read, "The championship season." Yeah, I had that Sports Illustrated. Man, if I had that thing would be worth some money now, in good shape. Woo. That's long gone. I done moved like 50 times since then. I'm sorry, let's go on. After defeating Edwin Corrette by a 10-round decision in a non-title fight, Bramble met Boom Boom Mancini in a rematch on February 16th, 1985. Now, in what marked the debut of the CompuBox scoring system, that fight right there, 1985, between Livingstone Bramble and Ray Mancini, was the beginning of CompuBox, right? So that was a historic fight. Bramble defeated Mancini again by an extremely close but unanimous 15-round decision to retain his world title. The fight was in Reno, Nevada, in front of an HBO boxing audience. And remember, the birth of CompuBox, right? Wow. I mean, I'm learning too. I never knew that. Wow. Now, after Hector Camacho defeated Luis Ramirez to claim the WBC title on August 10th of that same year, 1985, there was widespread talk about a series of fights between Bramble, Camacho, and IBF World Lightweight Champion Jimmy Paul to see who would become the undisputed world champion, right? Because it was 3 belts. We didn't have the WBO then. So exactly 1 year after defeating Mancini, for the second time, Bramble defeated the WBA's #1 challenger, Tyrone Crawley, by a knockout in the 13th round, okay? Defeated Crawley by a knockout in round 13. Now, Bramble's next defense was supposed to be a preparation fight for him to meet Camacho. Now, he and Camacho each defended their crowns on September 26th in what was nicknamed the preamble to Bramble. However, in what many saw as a surprise, Bramble lost his title to former WBC lightweight champion Edwin Rosario, who knocked him out in the second round at Miami. The great Puerto Rican fighter Edwin Rosario upset the apple cart. He was supposed to go up against the other Puerto Rican fighter, Camacho, in the unification fight. They were setting that up. But Rosario didn't get the memo, and he knocked Bramble out in the second round, okay? So, after this loss, Bramble never regained his status as a top lightweight, never got the title back, but never got back to the top. He fought on and met some future or former world champions, such as Freddie Pendleton, Charlie Murray, James Buddy McGirt, Roger Mayweather, Rafael Ruelas, and Kostya Tszyu, as well as world title challengers like Wilfredo Rivera, Obakar, and Daryl Tyson. He had a good resume. However, he was on the losing end of most of those fights because, his record was 40-26. So yeah, he had most of those losses in the 90s, before the way up into the 2000s. But yeah, after he lost to Rosario, I think a lot, boxing is a lot mental too. And he was so pumped up for that Camacho unification when he lost to Rosario. He never was the same after that. He never was the same after that. And during the 1990s, Bramble went through several name changes, often fighting under the names of Ross I. Bramble or Abuja Bramble. Okay, let's look at his personal life. I told you that was a little short one. Let's look at his there's his box rec right there. He was 40 and 26 with 3 draws. Yeah. Let's look at his personal life. But then we're going to talk about boxing in the Virgin Islands and some other boxers from the Virgin Islands momentarily. Now, when Bramble became a world champion, rumors of him practicing witchcraft became widespread. Now, he did not deny these rumors. Bramble did enjoy walking around with his pet snake. He used to walk, he made ring walk with it on his neck, remember? I know Jay Hardcore remember that. Bramble come down the aisle with that big ass snake around his neck, man. He used to walk into the boxing ring with one on his neck. He was pictured again on the cover of Ring magazine with a snake. And that's a hell of a ring walk there, ain't it? Big ass snake around your neck, right? Yeah. But he did it. Livingstone. Yeah, I got a shot right here with the snake. There we go. It was on the thumbnail. There he is with the snake around his neck. Now, yeah, he used to make his ring walks with the snake around his neck. He was on the cover of Ring magazine with the snake in 1985. Now, Bramble stated that he hates chickens and he strangles them. It was also reported that Bramble had skinned a dead cat and put it on his living room wall. Now, during this time, he had a boa constrictor and a ferret named Spider. He also had a dog named Snake. He described himself as the only roster prize fighter there is. Now, Bramble was a pescatarian. Bramble was a pescatarian, and his diet was described as primarily of fish, spaghetti, fungi, pumpkin, and coconuts. Damn, this cat's cooking fish tonight. They make me not want to eat none of that. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, an avid marathon runner, Bramble competed each year at the International Boxing Hall of Fame Celebrity Marathon. He was one of the most sought-after autograph signers there every year. Bramble resided in Las Vegas. He's the subject of a full biography by boxing journalist Brian D'Ambrosio. The book is titled Roster in the Ring, The Life of Rastafarian Boxer Livingstone Bramble, and was published in 2016. The book dissects and explains the life and belief of the Rastafarian boxer. And Bramble died on March 22nd, 2025 at the age of 64. There you have it, remembering Livingstone Bramble. Okay, well, now let's talk about, Bramble was from the Virgin Islands down there. So let's talk about boxing in the Virgin Islands and some other boxers from there, or that part of the world. Okay. Yeah, I told you Brown was a little short one. Tomorrow, his boxing in the States is South Dakota. Yep, South Dakota. Tomorrow. On the boxing in the States continues. Coming to winding down now on it. It's been going on for a while. This boxing in the States series. Okay, where's my thing on the Virgin Islands? There it is right there. Okay. It's titled From Griffith to Jackson, When Boxing Ruled in the United States Virgin Islands. Yeah, I couldn't get that. Okay. Now, the U.S. Virgin Islands is synonymous with world-class boxing. The territory boasts a rich prize-fighting heritage, having produced 3 bona fide world champions, Emil Griffith, Livingstone Bramble, and Julian Jackson. No Caribbean island except the region's prize-fighting mecca, Puerto Rico, has turned out more champions, right? or a group as compelling as the U.S. Virgin Islands did. Now, from the early 1960s to the late 1990s, when Griffith, Bramble, and Jackson seemingly took turns in the spotlight, with Griffith shining the brightest and leaving a footprint and legacy not matched by many, prize fighting reached its zenith in the territory. Then boxing ruled, right? Prize fighters were our earliest and most enduring sports heroes, emerging a few decades before Crucian basketball star and NBA great Tim Duncan debuted on the hardwood for the San Antonio Spurs. Yeah. Now today's we're going to go into the careers of the pioneering trio, Griffith, Bramble, and Jackson, the men who personified the golden age of boxing in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Okay. First, the natural, Emil Griffith is first. Yeah, he was never the same after that tragedy with the Cuban guy, Benny. The guy that died in the ring while fighting Emil. But the natural, Emil Griffith. Now, Emil Griffith, just before a minute, music always come up on its own. Yeah, Knuckles wasn't scared, but the cats turned the damn music down. Sheesh. Okay. Here we're going to talk about a few boxers from the Virgin Islands, where Livingstone Bramble was from, where we were remembering today. Emil Griffith. Now, he was born to box, a natural in the ring, quick feet and fast, powerful hands. Now, he didn't choose boxing, it chose him, right? A prize fighting enthusiast noticed the teenage West Indian in a clothing factory in New York City, right? He had moved there from St. Thomas to be with his mother. When he removed his shirt on a hot day to reveal a chiseled physique, greatness was predicted, and he delivered. His ascent from amateur pro to world champion was swift, right? In 1961, Griffith, then 23 years old, dethroned Cuban boxing Benny Purett. That was the one, right? I think they had 3 fights. That was the one that died in the ring. He beat Benny Purett for his first title, right? That was the first of 6 championship belts that Griffith would win. 5 months later, Purett defeated Griffith in the rematch in a controversial decision to regain the belt, setting in motion a series of events that climaxed with a title fight on March 24th, 1962 in Madison Square Garden between the 2 young Caribbean-born prize fighters. Yep, both of them from the Caribbean. Now, I don't know why they had so much dislike. They were both from the Caribbean, so should have had something like a kinship or something. But Griffith departed the ring a champion, hoisted triumphantly by his handlers. Purett, bloody, departed on a stretcher, dying several days later of injuries suffered in the fight. And you know what happened in the weigh-in? He called Griffith out of his name, right? Turned out Griffith was gay, and Purett called him the F word, right? And then Griffith trapped him in the corner, and I had the picture. I should have had, but the referee was trying to get through, and Griffith wouldn't even let the referee pass. He was just pummeling Purett, I think it was 18 unanswered punches, right? And Griffith collapsed, left the ring on a stretcher, and later died. Now, Purrett's demise tortured Griffith. He was never the same for much of his life, even though there was no loss between the two, as evidenced by Purrett's taunts before the Madison Square Garden fight. He hurled gay slurs at Griffith, but Griffith has insisted that he didn't intend to end Purrett's life. Of course he didn't, right? Griffith said, "I did not go into that fight to hurt anybody, but things happened." He told Purrett's son, during a poignant moment in Dawn Clory's award-winning 2005 documentary, Ring of Fire, the Emma Griffith story, okay? Now, Griffith's career resembled a prize fight full of subplots, ironic twists, and he was ultimately boxing's pariah as a result of the prize fight that led to calls by many, including the Vatican and influential politicians, that the fight be investigated and the sport be banned. And one of the world's most beloved fighters, due to his winsome personality and superlative skills. What they going to investigate? It's boxing. It happens. It's crazy. That was just people that had ulterior motives that wanted boxing banned anyway, and then they just got an excuse when that happened. Wanted the fight to investigate. What you going to investigate? The man died. The man didn't go in there purposely try to kill him. But actually, back in the 1930s, when Buddy Bayer, a guy died from a result of a fight with him, he got charged with manslaughter. Nothing came of it, but the state of California actually charged the man with manslaughter for a death that happened in the ring, yeah. But of course he was acquitted. How can you prove intent? It's a boxing match, man. Come on. Should have never been charged. But yeah, anyway, post-career, Griffith emerged as a hero to the gay community as he came to terms with his homosexuality. Now, Griffith's life, chronicled in songs, books, and films, transcended the boxing ring. Griffith piled up 84 wins, many against the era's finest, and had more title fights at MSG, Boxing Coliseum, than anyone else. In 1963, the Griffith juggernaut steamrolled the competition, capping off the year with a Boxer of the Year award. In 1990, he was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. A mere formality, of course. He went in with the old timers category. When he died 4 years ago, when he died in a nursing home in New York City, the boxing industry worldwide shed a tear. He was a tremendous boxer and person, Ron Ross, who authored Griffith's biography. The Two Worlds of Emma Griffith, that was the name of it, and of his friend in an ESPN.com interview in 2013. Griffith inspired a generation of United States Virgin Island athletes. He was the territory's first boxing champion. In fact, its first sports hero, period. He made me proud to be a Virgin Islander, Julian Jackson said of Griffith in a 2015 interview with the Daily News. The enema, we're going to go on past Livingstone Bramble. We just talked about him. Now, yeah, let's look at this for a minute because some of this stuff wasn't in the profile. Nothing about his early life. So let's go through this, right? Because the profile was short. It missed a lot of this. Now, the enema. A Rastafarian who had a fondness for exotic animals, Livingstone Bramble, also known as Ras Ayaluja Bramble, was as eccentric outside the ring as he was measured and calculated inside it. He trained with chickens and snakes. And he also had iguanas, alligators, pit bulls, and monkeys. Dreadlocked and occasionally with a boa constrictor wrapped around him like a necktie, Bramble cut quite a striking figure entering the ring. And when the bell rang, he was all business, a supreme counterpuncher who often befuddled opponents. When in mid-fight, he switched from an orthodox stance to southpaw. His opponents didn't know what was coming next, and that pause trying to figure him out becomes their downfall, his manager Luke Duba said in the 1985 Sports Illustrated interview. Now, Bramble was born in St. Kitts, but grew up on St. Croix, where he learned to box to defend his sisters, and he developed an interest in Rastafarianism. Its emphasis on an ascetic lifestyle appealed to him. Now, Bramble moved to New Jersey in his late teens and entered the pro ranks, burnishing his rep with tough fights under the guidance of Duva. Okay, under the guidance of Lou Duva. Yeah, Lou was Livingstone's trainer. Great trainer, Lou Duva. He also had Holyfield, Sweet Pea, yeah. Meldrick Taylor, the one that got cheated by Richard Steele, Al Booger. Okay, yeah, Lou Duva managed Meldrick Taylor, right? Hey, what's up, Al Booger? How you doing today? Now, fame beckoned as Bramble was tapped for a title fight against the wildly popular WBA lightweight champion, Ray Mancini, 1984. You know, he was a heavy underdog, but he went in and beat Mancini, right? He tried to rattle Boom Boom at the pre-fight event, showing up at a press conference with a voodoo doll and a witch doctor, Dr. Dew, who was actually his former basketball coach from St. Croix. Mancini was so prepared. There was no bluffing about him, Bramble told Boxing.com in 2014. But going in, I tried to break him down mentally and take control of the fight before it started. I tried to get him to think about things. Yeah, Boom Boom wasn't falling for that. But yeah, he pulled off the upset, remember? And then he got Boom Boom in the rematch also. But remember, on the way to the fight with Camacho, the unification, he got beat. Mm-hmm. And he went into the New Jersey Hall of Fame in 1999, not in the International. He didn't make that one. 40 wins, 26 losses, yeah. But who shoot Turkey out of Sheik and Rocky in there? I say Livingstone Bramble should be in there. Right? Every boxer should be in there. The Slugger, Julian Jackson, also from Virgin Islands. There's Julian. Let's see. Anybody come in? No. Bruce Gass, Boxing, Jazz, and More. Salute, Bruce Gass. How are you today? And we're going to get some link time, too. About 3:30-ish. But salute, Bruce Gass. How are you today? We talked about Livingstone. It was a short one. Now we talking about some other fighters from the Virgin Islands. That part of the world where Livingstone was from. But he moved to New Jersey as a teenager. Right? The Slugger, Julian Jackson. Now, Julian was a 3-time world champion, a devout Christian, and he was oftentimes ministers lost souls. But as a prize fighter, he wasn't as altruistic, possessing one of the sport's most punishing right hands. In 2003, Ring Magazine Boxing's Bible ranked Jackson as the 25th greatest puncher pound for pound in boxing history. And Julian dispatched many opponents with just one punch. He had superpower. He had that sometimes extra. His superpower was that when he hit you, you went to sleep. Thomas Gerpas, the senior editor at BoxingScene.com, told the Daily News in a 2015 interview. Now, Jackson was a St. Thomas native. He started fighting at 14 at a gym near the University of the Virgin Islands campus on St. Thomas, and he loved it. He had a short amateur career, posting a 15-2 record before going pro. In 1987, at age 26, with local trainer Sustens Violet in his corner, Jackson knocked out South Korean Inchal Bayek in 3 rounds to claim the vacant super welterweight title, his first championship belt. Okay, didn't say what sanctioning body it was. He was probably at his best in that fight, toying with his opponent. Okay. Now, I was told by Don King to look out for his right hand, to move and box. I realized this kid was easy to hit and to set up. Everything was flowing, and it was the easiest fight I had. I really didn't get hit in the fight at all, Jackson said in a BoxingInsider.com interview a few years ago, talking about that fight with the South Korean guy. Now, after several title defenses, Jackson relinquished the crown to move up to the middleweight division, where he fought for the championship against Great Britain's Harold Graham in 1990. Now, he vanquished Graham in 3 rounds, which had become a pattern for Jackson. That was a serious knockout there, too. Knocking out opponents in the first 4 rounds. Yeah, that Graham knockout was one of those. Most brutal of all time. Yeah. Now, 3 years later, Jackson lost the title to Gerald McClellan, also a slugger. A year after that, Jackson fared no better in a rematch with McClellan, as he wasn't as fit as he should have been. But in 1995, when McClellan advanced in weight class, Jackson captured the crown, right? A shell of his former self due to injuries, Jackson's reign was short-lived as he lost to Quincy Taylor in his first title defense. He retired shortly after that, racking up an astonishing 49 of 55 wins by knockout. Wow. You know I got to figure that out. 55 wins, 49 knockouts. That's a serious knockout rate there. That's 89%. Yeah, I knew it was around 90. Yeah, 89% knockout rate. So yeah, Jordan had hell of hop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 49 of 55 by knockout. Almost 2 decades after quitting boxing, his rep remained intact, his greatness evident. Ring Magazine named Jackson as the 5th best junior middleweight of all time. And in 2006, he was inducted into the World Boxing Hall of Fame. Jackson has often said that boxing saved him from a life on the streets, and he has reciprocated, using boxing to help young Virgin Islanders, especially those at risk. He has toured schools, spreading the gospel of the sweet science, and as a partner in the local organization 340 Boxing, he trains young boxers, including his 2 sons, Widely. Including his 2 sons. I thought his son name was Widely. But widely revered, Jackson has been honored by local community organizations for his civic work. As in the Black Prince and Sugar Ray Seals, talking about Peter Jackson, former slave, Peter Jackson, yeah. Now, the pantheon of great U.S. Virgin Island fighters also includes Peter Jackson, also known as the Black Prince, and Peter the Great, and Sugar Ray Seals, both of whom were born in the U.S. Virgin Islands, but don't have strong ties to the territory and honed their skills elsewhere. Now, they achieved distinction in the ring, but for different reasons. Both never fulfilled their ambitions. Okay, now Jackson was born in 1860 in St. Croix, then the Danish West Indies, but his family moved to Australia when he was a teenager. He worked, I think his parents might have been slaves, but I know he had something to do with slavery. Born in 1860. He worked as a mariner before getting noticed by a bare knuckle fighter after he squashed the mutiny with his fists. That incident helped launch his boxing career. And in short order, he won the Australian Heavyweight Championship in 1886 and the British Common Heavyweight title a few years later. However, his promising career plateaued because of the racial tenor of the era, and he was so skilled that getting fights proved difficult. For instance, the reigning world heavyweight champion, John L. Sullivan, an American, straight up refused to fight black fighters, okay? Jackson died in 1901 in Australia, the same year he was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Now, Sugar Ray Seals. Here's Sugar Ray fighting, guess who? Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray on the left, right? Now, Seals hailed from St. Croix, but was raised in Tacoma, Washington, moving there as a teenager in 1965. A Golden Gloves champion, he easily qualified for the 1972 Summer Olympics in Munich, West Germany, where he was the sole American boxer to win a gold medal. Only American to win a gold. The Cubans dominated that one. He was the only American to win a gold. Wow. But they won some in that next one, 76. Ooh. He turned pro after the Olympics, and he enjoyed a successful career. A middleweight contender in the late 70s and early 80s, but he had the misfortune of fighting in the same weight class and era as Marvin Hagler, a southpaw who's considered one of the 5 greatest middleweights of all time. Yeah, there's him and Hagler right there, see? Now, Seals fought the middleweight champion twice, fought Hagler twice, losing once in a close decision and once by knockout. Fought him 3 times. Once they fought to a draw. Lost a close decision to Hagler. Hagler knocked him out one time and had a draw with Hagler. Wow. Not bad. Sugar Ray? Yeah, that's Bruce. Salute Bruce Gas. Now, injuries also slowed Seals' career. He was forced to retire in 1980 due to an eye injury, and for a time he was declared legally blind, a condition later rectified by surgery. He lives in Indianapolis. Okay. Now, the future of U.S. Virgin Islands boxing. Okay. The U.S. Virgin Islands pipeline that once produced world champions like Emil Griffith and Livingstone Bramble and Sugar Ray Seals has slowed to a drip the last few decades. But 340 boxing, helmed by Julian Jackson, Tony Rosario, and Leslie Comison, is taking steps. Well, that ain't Leslie's name, but you know how I am with names. It's taking steps to rejuvenate the sport locally, with Jackson's son Julius, a super middleweight, and John, a super welterweight, his 2 sons, leading the crusade, Julius and John. Julius is a super middleweight and John is a super welterweight, right? Both Jacksons, though they have stumbled lately, have impressed with their grit and their attitude toward boxing. Yeah, wow. Okay. Now, let's look at this question here. Okay. Why would Terence Crawford prefer to face Canelo Alvarez instead of Jaron Ennis? Huh? Why? Glad you asked. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell y'all why. Glad y'all asked. Okay. Why would Terence Crawford prefer to face Canelo Alvarez instead of Jaron Boots Ennis? I am so glad y'all asked. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. I don't know what's wrong with my equipment today. Bear with me. We're going to figure it out. Took me 2 years how to figure out to get the pictures before taking pictures with my phone straight from the internet to StreamYard, but I got it now. Y'all see how beautiful them pictures been the last couple of weeks? Y'all seen it? Don't act like y'all haven't. Y'all seen them beautiful pictures I've been putting up. Okay, here we go. Okay, and let's talk about that. Why would Terence Crawford prefer to face Canelo Alvarez over Jaron Ennis? Again, glad y'all asked. There are 2 reasons Crawford would prefer to face Alvarez over Boots. 2 reasons. Number 1, money, right? No brainer, money. Number 2, little to gain if he beats Boots. Lots to gain if he beats Canelo, right? Lots to gain if he beats Canelo. Little to gain if he beats Boots. Beats Boots, they're going to say, well, he was experienced. Boots' day haven't came. He was supposed to beat him, right? So, yeah, he don't have nothing to gain. Now, we wanted badly to see Crawford versus Boots, right? Even at 37, Crawford still have an excellent chance of winning that fight. But as disappointing as it is, we can understand why. He didn't face Boots. Money floats the boat in boxing, or any other sport, really. And risk is the key factor other than money, right? For Crawford, not enough money for the risk in facing Ennis. As fans, people want to see the best fight the best every time out. As fighters, almost all want as much money and little risk as possible. Oscar Bonavena, great heavyweight from the 70s, said bluntly when asked about winning the heavyweight title. Now, Oscar Bonavena said, having a heavyweight title is nice, but cash is better. Oscar said, I can't eat a title belt. Oscar Bonavena said, I can't eat a title belt, right? Larry Holmes said, I would fight anybody, but I also wanted to be paid, right? So what are most fights based on historically? Terence Crawford answered that succinctly. Money. Crawford explained. It's all about the money at the end of the day, right? Money drives boxing. The first thing you need to know to understand the professional boxing game is, and its promoters, managers, and sanctioning bodies is, that they are not in it to help boxing or the public, okay? They are in it primarily to make money, all right? And Terence Crawford again said, it's all about the money at the end of the day. We as fighters, we start by fighting for recognition and fighting to become champion and have belts. Then you become bigger than the belts and start learning the business and what really matters in life. Once you figure that out, you realize that it's always been about the money. No matter what, it's always about the money. This is Crawford. Continue. Terence Crawford still talking, right? Bud says, and this is so true here. After boxing, what do you have to offer? What do you have to show? And what would you have to fall back on? Because you didn't work a regular job for 20 years. So if you're at the pinnacle of your sport and then you're going to retire and work at Walmart or a job as a janitor, because you don't have no degrees, you don't know how to do anything else, you've been boxing for your entire adult life, right? Because you gave your whole life to boxing. So Bud says, yes, it's all boils down to money at the end of the day. He is so right, man. Because you've been boxing professionally since you was 20, 21. You don't have no college degree. You don't have no, what you gonna put on the resume? You've been boxing for the last 20 years. What kind of job gonna hire you? So you better get that money while you can get it. Bud is 100% right. Larry Holmes was the first fighter in the modern era to really understand boxing was a business. And Larry Holmes not only was one of the first boxers who understood completely that this was a business, he expected to be given a reward commensurate with the risk of any proposed fight. Larry Holmes said, I put my health, my life on the line. You are going to pay me. Big risk, big money. Little risk, little money. Little money, little risk. That's what Larry said. Tommy Morrison was once asked if he was in boxing to become champion. And Tommy Morrison's answer says it all. Sure, but I want to get paid. So yeah, being champion would be nice. Being a rich journeyman would be better than being a poor champion. Right? That's what Tommy Morrison said. Being a rich journeyman would be better than being a poor champion. Now, Ennis is a potentially great fighter, but relatively unknown. What does Crawford gain from fighting Ennis? Very little. Very little. Okay? Very little. Not much money, for sure, relative to what he would get for fighting a better-known opponent like Canelo. And since Ennis is virtually unknown outside boxing purists, he would get no fame for beating Boots either, right? And if Crawford loses to Ennis, his legacy is damaged badly, right? Yeah, so that is very high risk, low reward. So I really don't blame him for not taking that fight. Now Crawford won his first title at lightweight. Canelo won his first title at junior middleweight, 3 classes higher. Crawford currently fights at junior middleweight, and Canelo currently fights at super middleweight, still 2 classes higher. Sports writer Jeffrey May says, Canelo is considered one of the most prominent and famous boxers and is widely recognized as one of boxing's biggest box office draws. Crawford would gain worldwide fame for defeating one of the most prominent and famous boxers today, especially since Canelo is 2 weight classes higher than he is. If he loses, well, he's a little guy, so the defeat does not hurt him that badly at all and doesn't damage his legacy at all. But what does he do? He earns a hell of a big bag for it, okay? So it's a no-brainer to not fight Boots and fight Canelo, right? Relatively small money to fight Boots, lots of risk. Truckloads of money to fight Canelo for virtually no risk at all to his legacy. Because if he loses to Canelo, we all gonna say that's what we thought was gonna happen, right? I know I am. I'm gonna be saying that's what I thought. Blood suffers no damage to his legacy whatsoever, but he's gonna get a hell of a bag. So you can't blame him. That's a no-brainer. This is why Crawford has not leapt forward to fight Boots Ennis. It is a fight for relatively little money and a whole lot of risk. For that, Crawford would expect 10 times what the fight is currently worth. Alvarez pays a lot more for less risk. End of story. Yeah, no brainer, man. And one more. Another question. How would a fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford go down? Who will win and why? Again, glad y'all asked. I got the answer right here. Glad y'all asked. I got the answer. Then it's almost link time. So, what was the question again? I forgot. Damn. I forgot the question. You know I didn't. Okay. Yeah. How would a fight between Canelo and Terence Crawford go down? Who would win and why? Who would win and why? Anybody know? I know. Well, I'm gonna see. We're gonna talk about it. Okay. We're going to talk about it. How's everybody today, though? It's hump day on the way downhill to the weekend. Well, I'm already at the weekend. I'm waiting on y'all to get in. Every day is a weekend for me. Now, a hypothetical fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford would be a highly anticipated matchup, given both fighters' elite skills and accomplishments. Here's a breakdown of how such a fight might unfold and who could potentially win. We haven't had a fantasy matchup Monday in a long time. We're not a fantasy matchup, but here's one. And this one we're really going to get. Now, fighter profiles. Canelo Alvarez primarily fights at super middleweight, right? But has competed at various weights. His style, strong, powerful, and technically proficient. Canelo is known for his body punching, counter punching, and ability to adapt during fights, right? He has a solid chin and experience in high stakes bouts. Solid chin is an understatement. He has a chin made of cinder block, okay? His strengths, power, experience, and the ability to cut off the ring. Now, Bud Crawford fights at junior middleweight currently, right? And his style. He's versatile and skilled in both orthodox and southpaw stances. Crawford is known for his speed, boxing IQ, and ability to switch styles mid-fight. his strengths, quickness, footwork, and adaptability. Now, the fight analysis, weight and size. Now, if the fight takes place at Canelo's natural weight, super middleweight, he would have a significant size and power advantage. Crawford, while skilled, may struggle against Canelo's combination of strength and experience at 168. Now, pacing and strategy. Now, Canelo tends to start slowly, looking to gauge his opponent and find openings. Now, if Crawford could come out strong and establish his rhythm, he can use his speed to keep Canelo at bay and score points early, and he would have a better chance at winning. Power dynamics. Canelo's power is a crucial factor. If he can land clean shots, especially to the body, it could turn the tide in his favor. Now, Crawford has been known to be hurt in fights and take shots, which could be a significant risk against Canelo, right? Tactics and adaptability. Now, both fighters are adept at making in-fight adjustments. If Crawford can effectively use his jab and movement to frustrate Canelo, he could potentially outpoint him. However, Canelo's ability to cut off the ring may limit Crawford's movement. Okay, Canelo's good at cutting off the ring. Now, the ring size is going to be a factor too, I think, yeah. Potential also, maybe not really, because Crawford ain't really worrying about because he's not just a pure boxer, a pure outfighter who would be worrying about having a lot of room. So the ring size might not be that big of a factor. But a bigger ring would be in Crawford's favor. Okay, I think. Potential outcome, I think. Canelo Alvarez win. If the fight occurs at super middleweight, Canelo is likely favored to win due to his power, size, and experience in high-pressure situations. His ability to land significant shots could wear Crawford down over the course of the fight. Now, if Crawford can impose his speed and boxing skills early on, that's key, early on, and bank rounds, and avoid Canelo's power shots, he could potentially outpoint Canelo in a very close decision. However, this would require him to maintain discipline and avoid getting caught. And Crawford cannot hit a usually slow start gauging. You know how he comes out and downloads. This Crawford got to come out there right away and get busy. He can't do that downloading early. Make your notes before the fight, bud, because it's going to be key for him to come out there and bank rounds early. So that normal download, slow start, no, he can't have that this time. He's going to have to come out there and get busy immediately. Sort of like the Earl fight, He came out there in the Earl fight and kind of got started quicker than he usually did. That's kind of start you're going to have in the Canelo fight, I think. Now, conclusion. Overall, while both fighters have paths to victory, Canelo would likely be the favorite in a super middleweight matchup due to his power and experience at that weight. Crawford's success would depend on his ability to execute a perfect game plan and avoid Canelo's heavy punches. Okay, let's drop the link. Okay, see if anybody else is interested in giving their take on the Canelo Bud situation. Time is dropping stuff. We got 25 minutes. I'm gonna pick that up after I get the link. Oh damn, that was the link phone. I gotta pick that up now. That was the phone where I watched the chat. Okay, I got it. That was kind of interesting. Yeah, but I think Bud gonna have to get off to a good start in this one and bank some rounds early. He can't afford that downloading. But Earl, I think he got off to a better start, quicker start than he normally did against Earl, right? Because what he knocked him down in the second round? I think it was the second round, right? Okay, what's going on? I hit the wrong thing. Invite. There's invited. There it is. Okay, copy. Right? Yeah. No, it ain't. This is. I'm having problems. It'll be okay. We're gonna have a link in there in a minute. Bear with me. How's everybody this hump day though? Beautiful outside, man. It's springy. No, today it was a little windy and cold out there. I was doing my walk. I was getting ready to come back and get my other hoodie, but I was so far. I said, keep going. Keep going. You know, walk fast. You know, you'll warm up. Swing your arms. You know, you brisk walk, you're supposed to swing your arms. I think that looks silly. I don't swing my damn arms. I just walk. But other than that, we got a great top rank card this weekend with a bunch of them youngsters. Shoo back in there. I think Tiger Johnson is on the card. Bruce Carrington, Emiliano Vargas. Is this his first fight at 140? I think it might be, right? I believe it is. I don't think Emiliano's had one at 140 yet. I really don't. I don't think so. There we go. Beautiful day, Albert. Albert says beautiful day. All right. Everybody's welcome to hit the link. Okay. And yeah, we got a great card this weekend though. Tomorrow we're gonna be talking about boxing in the States. We're at South Dakota. Yeah, South Dakota. We don't have much of a boxing history, but then we'll have a backup plan. Right? Always gotta have plan B in place, you know. And or plan C. But yeah, that is a very interesting fight, Crawford and Canelo. I think I don't know if Crawford can pull it off, but if he pulls that off, you got to start talking ATG with Crawford's name. If he goes up there and beats Canelo, yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does it. But I'm not expecting him to. I'm thinking Canelo going to take the decision, because you know, of course, it's 4 rounds to nothing for Canelo right now. You know, it's before the thing even start. So yeah. But gonna have to get busy early and stay busy. You know what I mean? Because it's gonna be an uphill battle for him, for sure. But as far as the Boots part, it's a no-brainer. Boots is high risk, low reward, and he's gonna get a. And if he loses to Canelo, that doesn't hurt his legacy at all, because everybody's gonna say he was supposed to lose. I just got finished saying it. I'm not expecting him to win. I'm definitely going to say, hey, he dared to be great. Doesn't hurt his legacy at all. But if he wins, and if he loses, he's still going to have that nice big bag. Probably his biggest bag he ever made, you know? I wonder if he's going to come back to 154, or you think he's going to retire? Mel haven't fought since the Canelo fight, remember? Mel never fought another time. Fought Canelo, and that was it. You keep hearing about him making a comeback, but when? Mel got that bag. I'm just glad he didn't ask Canelo for his autograph in one of those press conferences, the way he was looking at Canelo all starry-eyed. I said, please don't ask him for his autograph, Mel. I never seen Mel like that. It happened to the Lions only, right? He was looking at Canelo like he was his idol or something. I'm like, how you gonna beat this man? You look like you just giving the fight up all. You just happy about the bag you making, man. And sure enough, once he took that Canelo caught him one time with that first shot, Mel just packed it in. Mm-hmm. Bud ain't gonna do that though. Canelo gonna have to beat Bud. Bud coming to win. That's not in his DNA to lay down. Not Bud Crawford. No way. Lay's Onion. What's up, Lay's Onion? How are you today? In the building. Monday through Friday. Bringing you all that boxing history. Tomorrow we got boxing in the States, South Dakota. And then Friday is the regular profile, JCC, the life and career of Julio Cesar Chavez this week. That's going to be a good long one. JCC, yeah. And I just did the all-time greatest fighters for every division, and JCC was it for junior middleweight. Let's review that. No, junior welterweight. Excuse me. Let's take a. I never did review. Let's take a look at that. Well, we got some time. Okay. Just Do Boxing is coming up at 4 p.m. today with that unbiased, balanced boxing talk. You know how everybody gets to just do over there, just do boxing. Everybody. Let's take a look at the best boxers of all time. All times from each division. All time. Let's see. Okay. You know it was at heavyweight. You know what? Lay down. Heavyweight was Muhammad Ali, right? Wait a minute. I'm in the wrong place. Stay with me for one moment. Here we go. Heavyweight was Muhammad Ali. Okay. Cruiserweight was Evander Holyfield. Holyfield over Usyk because Holyfield fought the better competition by far over Usyk, but it was close. Usyk deserves honor. Usyk is probably number 2, but best at cruiserweight all time, Evander Holyfield. Light heavyweight. And what's weird about light heavyweight, Ezra Charles, he was never light heavyweight champion, right? But yeah, probably the best light heavyweight. He beat Archie Moore. I don't think Archie Moore was champion yet. Because remember, Archie was 23 when he turned professional, but he didn't get his first title shot until he was 39, right? But Archie kept it 10 years. Archie said, I'm not losing this because I'll probably never get another shot, right? Super middleweight, best of all time, Roy Jones Jr. Okay? Incredible talent. Stayed around too long, like a lot of them do. But, you know, in his prime, he was nasty. Middleweight, the great legendary Harry Greb, there he is, the Pittsburgh Windmill. Harry Greb, best middleweight of all time, hands down. Okay? No, not even arguable. Harry Greb. Damn it. Junior middleweight, Thomas the Hitman Hearns. Best junior middleweight of all time. I should just go on past welterweight. Y'all know who that is. I'm just gonna keep on going. Sugar Ray Robinson, of course. Junior middleweight is the profile Friday. Junior welterweight. I keep saying junior middleweight. JCC is the best of all time at junior welterweight. JCC. Next is lightweight. Y'all know who that is. The Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran. When I first saw that picture, I didn't know Roberto Duran fought Pacquiao. The guy looked like Pacquiao, but that's not him. I said, Roberto Duran fought Pacquiao? That's not Pacquiao, though. But that's Roberto on the left. Now, like I was saying in the top of the show, for those that wasn't here, Nobody is ever unbeatable. But there was 2 fighters that was as close to unbeatable as you could get. That was 1960s Muhammad Ali and 1970 Roberto Duran. Okay, those 2 was as close to unbeatable as a fighter could get. Ali in the 60s, Duran in the 70s. Okay, Esteban de Jesus was the only one to beat Roberto in the 70s, but I'd say Esteban de Jesus got one of the highest ring IQs of all time. He was crafty, man. But Roberto did beat him twice, so Esteban was a bad man. International Boxing Hall of Fame. Okay, where are we? Lightweight. Oh, I went backwards. Wait a minute, man. We'll see what's what's before lightweight? Junior lightweight. Oh, come on, guys. Junior lightweight, the explosive thin man, Alexis Arguello. Greatest 130-pounder of all time. Best cruiserweight. I had Holyfield, Lay's Onion. I picked Holyfield over Usyk because of resume, opposition. I gave Holyfield strength of opposition. Oh yeah, Holyfield. Usyk, Holyfield, yeah. David Hay, Holyfield, yeah. I had Holyfield. Well, so then, where am I? I was at the explosive thin man. What he was at? Junior lightweight, right? Junior lightweight. Okay, junior lightweight was Alexis Arguello. Okay. So then featherweight, that was a tough one. Willie Pep, Salvador Sanchez. Wow, that was tough. Willie Pep, the will-o'-the-wisp, on the strength of all around, the defense. Yeah, Holyfield was a beast, Lay's Onion. You're 100% correct. Yeah. Willie Pep and Salvador Sanchez is tough, though, man. Them 2. That would have been a fight. If they had been in the same era, I don't even know about that one. Wow. If they fought 10 times, it probably would be 5-5. 5 apiece. But then, junior featherweight 122 was Wilfredo Gomez. The great, I'd say he's about the best Puerto Rican fighter of all time, Wilfredo Gomez. Oh, damn. I was here. I wonder where he was at. What's up, T-Hill?
Oh, man.
You just
the show.
Yeah.
Show.
Yeah. I was just going back over the, was Mark T. Johnson a flyweight, T-Hill?
He spanned flyweight all the way up to,
yeah. Because I missed flyweight, so I penciled him in that flyweight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark
He did about 3 divisions.
Okay.
I love me some Mark Too Sharp. That man was technically sound, bro. I love me some Mark Too Sharp.
Him and Michael Carvajal about the only Americans I can think of down that low, because you don't see too many Americans.
Well, they were the ones that were big because of the prowess they had. I mean, with Carvajal, he was big because he could put you down. Little guys putting you down is always a rare commodity, so that's why when you see them, they carry a little bit of weight with them. And Carvajal was my guy. Like I used to love me some Carvajal.
I think he stopped at 108, didn't he?
Yeah.
108. Yeah. Yeah, George Foreman. Oh, you missed it yesterday, Lay's Onion. I did a thing on George Foreman. Lay's Onion said we missed George, but yesterday.
George was yesterday. It was an excellent. People really don't know how much of a figure he was to the sport of boxing. What he did for boxing. They remember him more so than anything for 2 things 3 things: that grill, the comeback, and then the fight against Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
But he did so much more than just that.
And then the second career when he won champion again, remember?
Yeah, that's why I said the comeback.
The comeback. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That fight against Michael Moore, didn't nobody believe he would win that fight.
No, nobody, man. Nobody.
I mean, for the most part,
Not even me.
was
I didn't give it neither to him. I didn't give him a chance.
I was rooting for him. I didn't know if he would win, but I was definitely rooting for him.
Yeah.
I was hoping he would win.
Right.
I know one thing, and one thing always holds true, especially with boxing. Your power never goes away.
Never.
A lot of things can go away, but your power truly never goes away. And he's got one of the biggest, if not the biggest punch in boxing history. So, you know, with that being the case, there's always a way.
Right. Everybody got power, but everybody don't have fight-changing power. He had fight-changing power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. One punch truly can change the complexion of a whole fight with him.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, a lot of people disrespect Frazier, but Frazier truly is a great. He lost to two fighters alone.
That's it.
He handled everybody else.
Yes, he did. In the 70s, the greatest era of heavyweights of all time. Man. Nobody beat him but Ali and Foreman, you know?
Man. And he gave Ali all he could handle.
Yeah. But, you know, like I said,
now granted, like,
messed up, you know?
Yeah. I always... I give Ali so much props because he had a great portion of his career stripped from him.
I know.
And when you're that far removed, and the fashion that it was removed, it's kind of hard to come back the same fighter.
Right.
He never came back the same fighter.
No, he adjusted. He went in and he had to take more punishment and fight more, you know. He had to be in more battles when at first he just was untouchable. You know, he had to get hit a lot more when he came back, but he still was the best, you know. And Dundee said he was more flat-footed when he came back.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. You
know? Hey, Teddy Atlas should have definitely talked about his greatness. I think a lot of times, as with most big-time punchers, they don't truly get credited for their skill set.
Yeah.
Because people see the knockdowns. They see the knockouts.
100%.
But in order for you to score a knockout, you either got to have a tremendous punch or know how to tremendously set your punch up. He just so happened to have both. He knew how to set his punches up, and on top of that, he had a tremendous punch. And, you know, unfortunately, that's going to overtake any conversation about his greatness and what he actually truly accomplished in the sport. That being said, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was reading what Lay Sunday was writing. Go ahead, T. He was talking about Teddy Atlas.
Yeah. I love me some Teddy Atlas because he's usually unbiased with things.
Yeah. Before that fight.
I like that. I don't like people who color their thoughts with bias.
Yeah.
You know, I try my best not to do that.
The fight against George. Teddy was. Remember?
Yeah, but going back to what you were saying the other day about the fight with Keyshawn and your boy De Los Santos and having that time off, that layoff. Now, I just want to make mention of how important it is to stay active and to keep yourself in tune with the sport.
Yeah.
When they take fights off, they come back, they struggle. Imagine taking years off.
I know.
And having years off where you can't do anything. You can't train, you can't spar, you can't do anything but sit there and wait for the day that they release you.
Right.
Ali had that happen upon him, and in the process of doing that, he didn't come back the same fighter.
Yeah.
There was no recovering the time and the frequency of activity that he had to endure. And
exactly.
Even though he was a great fighter in his comeback, he was not that fighter that he was before. He just was special enough. And that's why I say you can be a champion, but not be the fighter you used to be. So a lot of times people beat champions and people will say, well, yo, he wasn't the same. He truly wasn't the same.
No.
Ali, whoever fought Ali after the imprisonment didn't fight that same Ali that was before that.
No.
They never got to measure themselves against that Ali, but they got to measure themselves up against a great fight.
Right.
And that's why, I still maintain that two things are true. Like, when people say, well, he didn't beat that guy when he was at his best, that's true. He still beat him when he was one of the better fighters in the game. It's just he wasn't that guy that people mostly remember him for. And that's a shame that what happened with Ali. But that being the case, that just speaks of how great his performance was against Foreman, because Foreman was out there absolutely destroying folks.
Oh, man. I didn't give Ali a chance neither in that one. His own team was looking off.
I forgot. I got to send you that clip. I'm going to send you that clip.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you that clip so you can play it. But it's amazing that he had to give his own self a pep talk.
Right.
Because the people was looking like they was about to see a ghost.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, why y'all looking like that? I'm the one that's going up in the ring.
Right. Right. But you know what you were saying about Dos Santos and the layoff, and he coming back against the world champion, T-Hill.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So the expectation of him being at his best, we can't. He can be at the best that he can be for that fight, but at his very best, I don't believe he'll be there for a cool minute, because he's taking a cool time off, and he had blood clots that was brewing. So that takes a little bit of your ability to train and get yourself properly prepared. Now you got to get yourself accustomed to how you got to train now. That being the case, he's got enough talent where he can make it difficult, especially if he can land a punch. Because he can land a punch, it can change the complexion of the fight. One thing I will say about Keyshawn, as talented as he is, he reaches and lunges.
I know. Yeah.
And I'm going to say it, man. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm disagreeing. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, like, that lockout that he scored against Baranchyk where they stopped it, he hit him with the inside of his wrist. I've never seen the inside of a wrist knock down an opponent, and much less stop a fight.
Damn.
If you look at the placement of the glove, right where the little, what is that, the radius, or is the ulna, right where it meets the hand.
Yeah, right.
That is what landed against them. It didn't even seem flush.
It's like a jab bone in the back of that, on the side. On the side, the middle is soft. On both sides, it's like a bone. And that was because he didn't load the punch correctly. So he gives a chance to his opponent. You just got to be sharp with your chance. But was that the one that hurt him bad, or had he hurt him before that with another punch?
I think he hit him with a punch that kind of like began the process.
Right.
So I mean, he was hitting him with some stuff, no doubt about it. But the one that actually was the finishing touch, it wasn't what it could have been and what it should have been.
Yeah.
So Dennis Baranchyk, I don't know what was going on with him. I don't know if he was caught off guard by that punch that set the thing up. Yeah, and it just was the last, the sustaining blow that was like, okay, we didn't spell enough. I can't do this no more.
Yeah.
But if your boy is able to sustain, he can take advantage of, like, sometimes when the punch goes aloof or doesn't go right, and sometimes when he reaches. But the fact that he hasn't been fighting, that's going to be a steep mountain to climb.
Yes, it is. I don't think he can do it. He could be 100%. I probably would still pick Keyshawn.
Hey, absolutely, Legs. Ali had so much skill. Like, I think the greatest thing about Ali was the fact that he was a big guy, but he could move like a small guy.
I know.
And I think that more so than anything set him apart from everybody, because not only was his legs quick, not only was his hands fast, his ability to move his body and go in and out. When he came back, he didn't have that same ability.
Didn't have that, no. Especially the leg part of it. Yeah.
The legs were really, really compromised. And as Cass alluded to, he had to endure a different fighting style. Now he had to put himself in harm's way a lot more. And the greatest thing about him was that heart. That fight with Ali Frazier said everything, man. That man took some punishment. I think they said he had his jaw broken in that fight, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The last
punishment. And he wouldn't quit.
He wouldn't quit, man. He wouldn't quit.
And it was another fight where I believe they said if Frazier didn't come out, he was gonna come out.
Yeah, Ali said he wasn't coming either. Ali was in this corner arguing for Angelo Dundee to take his gloves off. Frazier was arguing his trainer not to stop the fight. But Frazier couldn't even see. Both eyes was shut, man. He was still trying to come back out and fight. But Eddie Fuck was like, no, I can't let you go back out there like that. And he stopped it, you know.
And you got to think that they still have not yet erected a statue in that man's honor. But they got a statue of a fictional movie character.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
That is crazy, man.
I thought when he passed away, he would have got one. He should have got it before he passed. But when he passed, I thought he would have definitely got one then. But he still didn't get it, man.
Oh, my man Lay's Onion is on it, though. He said if you missed an attack on Ali, you was getting that overhand right.
Yeah, I was reading it. That's why I said something about Teddy Atlas up there, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Teddy was a good trainer, though. Yeah.
And to imagine.
Motto.
Yeah. To imagine, man, like you said, you don't get fights like that no more.
No.
You know, and a great part of it is because of the money that is made off of them and the money that they potentially can make now. Let's not get it twisted. For 98% of the people that's in this sport, they don't get to see real money. But the 2% that get somewhat of a fair cut, you know, it is no need for them to fight to feed their families. Back then, you had to fight to feed your families.
Yeah. And you know what else, T-Hill? I think the fighters understand the business part of it a lot better nowadays, too. And they just ain't going to keep going in there like that and getting underpaid. Like back then, they just would go in there and fight, you know, for whatever. Just, you know, get a payday. But now fighters like, no, I ain't doing that, you know. Like I was talking about Bud. Like, I'm not fighting Boots for that little bit of money and that high risk when I can fight Canelo and make this, you know. Back in the day, you probably would afford Boots.
And that's a great point. You want to know what corroborates your point is back then? Wages at a job didn't equal to what some of these people can make in a fight. You know what I'm saying? Back then, if I fought, I far exceeded a wage that I could earn. Nowadays, you know, you fight, you got to pay to fight.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't got to pay to go to work. You pay your time, but you don't really got to pay your assets. You ain't got to sell tickets to make sure that you can get hours on the clock.
I know.
So, you know, that's going to come. Whereas that pay may never come. You could put on a hell of a performance and the pay may not come. You may still have to pay to put on your performance. And that is where boxing is itself needs a committee, because I believe that the sport has generated too much off of these fighters to not have something in place for them where they can get
for them to
fair.
Be in a situation like that, man. Yeah, they make it too much. You know, for a fighter to have to be in that type of situation, that's just ridiculous, man. You know, truly. They need, like all the other big sports, got a commissioner's office that oversees the promoters, the sanctioning bodies. This one office. You know, like football, the commissioner's office oversees everything. That's where all the rules, everything come from them. You don't have different states making different rules and stuff. When you play a football game, no matter where you play it, you play under the same rules. You know?
Exactly.
Where boxing
You're absolutely correct. And then even with football, there is a players union to make sure that the people are being compensated fairly.
Right. You got a union.
Not justly, but fairly. At least we're getting fair compensation. We're not probably getting our just compensation, but we're getting fair compensation. In boxing, there's no such thing.
The union, these owners of the football teams have nothing to do with it. That's the players' union, you know. Totally for the players, of the players, and by the players, right? Boxing had nothing like that. Nothing like that. That's what they need.
And it gives credence to what you said a long time ago. The reason why it's not regulated as much is because it was tied to over the years, it's been tied to the mob.
Yeah.
And if you try to regulate them, they're gonna regulate you.
And it's still on that same model,
I remember you speaking about that not too long ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, the fact that we don't see this, when you see people losing their lives, when you see people losing their ability to function as a normal person like they did prior to the boxing, it's pretty telling that something is behind the scenes and stopping them from doing stuff that makes them at least get fed.
Mm-hmm.
Treatment.
Miss BITC.
Oh yeah, it's that time. My bad.
I was looking at the chat. Miss BITCH in the building, man.
Oh yeah, chat. I hadn't seen her in a long time, man. Shout out to the Queen Bee.
Yeah, how are you? Where you been? You been in hiding? We haven't seen you in a while. But welcome back to the JBT. Yeah, we better get ready to get over here too. But we got
to go over to Just Do. So shout out to everybody in the chat. I mean, It's been a pleasure to listen here to my man Cass Sports, the box story, and talk about a significant figure in boxing in Livingstone Bramble. And then on top of that, segue into other people who have played a significant role in the sport of boxing. Shout out to his wife for allowing us to have this time. Shout out to the chat. We got Miss B, we got Lay's Onion, Cross-Eyed Diddy with 3 P's. Got the Professor, Al Booger, the better half, Miss Cass, the champ, Mike Mazik, myself, the ringer, and great brother Broxton, Jazz and more. They call him Bruce Gas. Got my main man, Jay Hardcore of Hardcore Boxing News, the JBT Network. Shout out to the JBT Network. Mike Ram, the gentleman. Got Donnie Williams. And Tim Layton, the big train. And who was just watching, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and see you at the next time. This is 2:00 shorty. That's Eastern time. Mr. Cass Sports, the box story. I'm Thomas Hill. It has been a pleasure. Thanks for opening that format and that panel for me, just to speak on things. We got Ken Salah, the nephew, Jarrell Hadi, and I'm out. Hey, everybody, mosey your way over to Just Do Boxing. You will always be in a treat where you'll see boxing covered from an unbiased point of view. And that's what you get over at the JBT Network. Just boxing talk. No biases, no banter. Well, maybe a little bit of banter. But definitely no nonsense. So let's go on and have a wonderful day. Blessings to you all. And thank you for making this show what it was today. Enjoy your day.
And salute Ken Sola, one of Jarrell Hattie. And with that, we are out of here. Everybody have a good day.